I wonder if you can let me get some of those. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Facebook or our Facebook, our YouTube Live, Truly Force Free Animal Training. I am Shannon Riley Coiner. I am the founder of Truly Force Free Animal Training. And we have, hopefully, you are able to find us. We had to change our link. YouTube wasn't cooperating with us like it should have. So if you are looking for us, hopefully you found us, or if you thought you were looking for us live and you didn't, we will post this as a recording. So we're going to hopefully be able to reach you. Getting through all these technical difficulties, all the systems keep changing how we do this. So every month it feels like we learn something new. I need the book too. And so welcome to our monthly Ask the Trainer. So today you'll get to ask your questions. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. If you submitted a question, I have those here. So I'll be going over those. Before we get into all of the nitty gritty of it, I want to go over a couple things. Of course, it's getting close to holiday time, so this is a great gift to get somebody. This is the Evolution of Dog Training book that I wrote. It really talks about the history of dog training. Great gift for someone who is just getting into dog training, maybe someone who's interested in being a trainer, maybe someone who's got an animal that they've trained, maybe they want to train a little different way. So check out the Evolution of Dog Training book. It comes as an ebook, a paperback, or audio. Then we also have a good manners class online now. So if you want to do good manners with your animal and you don't have a positive force free trainer in your area, you can do good manners with me through video. So you can check that out at trulyforcefree.com and you can have a chance to look at that and see if you want to teach your dog sit and down and come and stay and some of those basic cues. And then the other part that we have, another special that we have going on is it's a reactive dog bundle. We put together all the reactive dog things we have on Truly Force Free and gave it at a discounted price. So you can get the reactive dog webinar, the body language webinar, the reactive dog rehabilitation program, the 1 hour, you get a 1 hour virtual coaching call with me, and you also get the ebook of the Evolution of Dog Training book. So all of that would normally be $565, and we're having it for $400. So all of that is included. So if you have a dog who's reactive, but you really can't afford to work with someone, a behaviorist or a trainer that does force-free positive training, and you really want to help your dog, this is another option. So we hope that you can check that out as well. So again, welcome to Truly Force Free Animal Training's Ask the Trainer. I'm Shannon Riley Coiner if you're just joining us. So let me see what we can go through here. So I want to talk about the first question. So the first question I have is a German Shepherd pup that weighs about 55 pounds. He is in a working bloodline and attacks me when he does not get what he wants. What do I do? So this is something that that has a problem with different dogs. And oops, I dropped my pen. When dogs want something that they can't get, they can get frustrated. So I'm going to read it again because there's a couple parts here. So there's a German Shepherd pup. So I'm not sure how old this pup is. So I'm assuming young since they say pup, but it could be at 55 pounds, German Shepherd, probably maybe about 6 months, I'm guessing by weight. And working breed, which means working breed German Shepherds are going to be way more intense. And so they're going to be working, they're going to need to have a job. And they attacks me when he does not get what he wants. What do I do? So typically, this doesn't give me a lot of information. However, when I deal with dogs who attack me, kind of thing, what I'm visualizing is a dog who's going to jump on you and maybe bite your clothes and really just go crazy, jumping and mouthy, and maybe not biting where they're puncturing skin, but biting clothing. All of those things can be part of that behavior. So, what happens a lot of times when dogs have react this way? It's out of frustration. They don't actually know what you want, and so your clarity isn't there. So then they don't know what they want, and you're not being clear of what you want, so they don't know what you want from them, and then it just ends up being frustration and really expectations that can't be met because they don't understand. So, um, when you say attacks me when he doesn't get what he wants, what might be happening is you may be misunderstanding even what he wants, or he may not know what you want. So, I wish I had more to in this to be able to give me more information. So I'm just kind of imagining a dog, but this is from Motley Dog Training. So if this doesn't answer your question, please, send us some more backup information. So I'm just going to say we're just going to do something simple. Like, say you're working on sit stay, and maybe you having your dog sit, and maybe you're working on duration. So you're working on having them sit for 30 seconds. But you get to about 20 seconds and your dog starts to jump on you. And then it all messes up your whole program. In that situation, what I would look for in a dog like this is I would go backwards and say, I'm pushing my dog too far, too fast. So maybe you have a situation where the dog is you need to go backwards. So maybe you need to go, instead of 30 seconds, you need to go to 10 seconds and make that dog successful. You do a sit, stay, and you release them and they get their treat. Sit, stay, release. Success, success, success. Then you bump up your duration just a little bit, maybe 2 seconds or 3 seconds. Success, success, success. So that's how you want to kind of keep moving that forward. Then you're going to go up to 10 seconds, 15 seconds. If you get to 20 seconds and your dog starts to get frustrated, then go back. They're just not ready to go that long. Sometimes our expectations are a lot higher for our dogs than what they really can do in reality. So that might be a situation where you're pushing something and they're not ready. So step back a little bit. Maybe your dog wants a ball and you don't want to give him to the ball. Maybe you've played ball and you're done playing ball. This is often happens with impulsive dogs. Happened with my own lab. He used to be really obsessive about a ball or a toy sometimes. And so what I had to do though was teach him a cue that meant it was all done. So we would play, and then I would put away the ball and I would tell him, and my hand signal was just all done. And then I would just ignore him and walk away. If you have a dog who's super intense, what you might have to do is do all done, and then they go in their crate and they get some kind of calming, like a Kong where they can lick a Kong and calm down. Because if their intensity gets really high up, it is hard for some dogs to just turn it off instantly. It's a learned skill that they have to do. So that's something that you might have to do too. If it's other things, you might also need to manage things. So I'm not sure exactly when he doesn't get what he wants. That doesn't give me a lot of information. So when he doesn't get what he wants, could be that you get up in the morning and you always go on a walk, and you don't want to go on a walk that day. And he's frustrated because he wants to go on a walk because you always go on a walk. If you're not going to walk every single day, then you need to make that part of your pattern of not going on a walk every day. So an example would be that my dogs used to get fed right after we'd wake up, and they would get fed. Well, I had to stop doing that because they were wanting to wake me up earlier and earlier. So I started waking up, letting them go out to go potty. They came back in. I did other things. I didn't feed them for a period of time. It could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it could be 25, 30 minutes. And then I let them eat. So they were not anticipating that they were going to eat as soon as I woke up. So that might be another thing that's happening, is you might be creating a pattern, and then one day you break that pattern, but your dog doesn't understand that you don't feel good today, so you don't want to go on a walk. And so then they just get frustrated. So that's something else to consider. So I would love to be able to hear more about this from you, just because it would be fascinating to hear more about what you're asking for. But anyway, that is one piece that could be going on. Um, let me look at the next question here. Can you send the link to that text? Let me see. For my next question um is let's see, why does my dog become aggressive when we take things away from her? So this goes kind of along with what is going on with your dog when you take that with the question before. So that frustration. So when we take things away from our dogs and we just snatch them away, we just expect that our dogs are going to be like, "Oh, sure, you can take anything you want away from you can take anything you want away from me. It's not going to be a problem." But that's not reality. If somebody came up to you and just took something away from you, you might get really frustrated too, and you may become aggressive. So my best example of this is that when we are doing this, when we my best example is, so if I was eating an ice cream and I'm eating an ice cream cone and you came up to me and you just grabbed my ice cream cone away. Well, at first I might be a little shocked and surprised, but then I might just like, okay, that won't happen again. It's fine. But then you come up to me again and you take my ice cream cone away. When you take my ice cream cone away, I get a little frustrated and I pull it away maybe. And I say, no, that's my ice cream cone. Leave it alone. And then you come up again and you try to take my ice cream away. Then I might punch you. And I'm not really an aggressive person, but I might punch you. Leave my ice cream alone. So that could be, one of those things that happens. So instead, if you don't want your dog to become aggressive when you take things away, because that is a frustrating thing, is trade them. Make it so it's not so bad. So if I was eating an ice cream cone, and maybe Thrifties I have some of my favorite ice cream, so it's not real expensive. So I paid maybe $5, that's kind of expensive Thrifties ice cream, but we'll just say I got a double scoop and $5 I'm eating, and you're like, here's $20. Can I have your ice cream? I'm going to gladly give you my ice cream because now I don't have to, I can go buy more. And then you can also, the next time you came up to me, I'll be eating my ice cream and I might be like, they're going to give me $20 for this. And you give me $20, I'm going to give you my ice cream. After a while, you start to approach me. I'm just going to give you my ice cream. You don't even have to ask, because we have created a better relationship. So when your dog gets aggressive, which I'm assuming means they get mouthy, they hold things, maybe they shake the whatever. It's just out of frustration. It's because you're taking something they want away. So you can just make it so you're not taking it away. If you have a friend and you're always taking things from a friend, but you're never giving back, that friendship isn't going to be a very good friendship, and there's not going to be a lot of trust. So that is something that you can do instead of just taking things away. You can work through that relationship. Dogs are just like us in so many ways. Their brains are so similar to ours, and the way they process things. We're learning that they have emotions. We know that they have feelings and they have thoughts, and they look at patterns a lot. And so if we create a pattern that frustrates them, they do not have other ways to express that frustration. So when they get frustrated, they can go into fight, flight, or freeze. If they go into flight, they'll just leave if they're frustrated with you. If they go into freeze, they may stay in one spot and just kind of shut down. But the problems that people don't like is when they go into fight because they're frustrated and they're like, no, you're not going to take this away from me. No, I still want to go on my walk that you do every week, every day. So there can be frustration. And so having some empathy and compassion for them will help you be able to understand when they can, get move forward. So I hope that helps, and those kind of go together. Um, then we have another question about I'm thinking about getting a dog, possibly fostering, but maybe, keeping one. And I just had a client this week that was looking at a dog to foster, but maybe foster to adopt. And it's really important when you get a dog that you get a dog that matches the personality that you need. What do I mean by that? So, what I mean is if you are a couch potato, you do not want to go get an active border collie who should be working in the fields. That match will be frustrating because you won't be able to give that dog everything they need and their needs won't be met. So then they're going to have behaviors that you don't want. If you are really active and you get a mastiff that's a couch potato, you may be frustrated too if that was a dog you wanted to run with and be active with. So that you have to look at breed, but within every breed, their personalities. So then you also want to look at if you're not someone who really wants a dog that's very tactile and likes to touch you, then don't get the puppy or the dog who's always jumping on your lap. I sometimes call those Velcro dogs because they always want to be with you. So don't get a Velcro dog, get a more independent dog. For me personally, I like a dog who can turn on and be active and do agility and be fun, but also has an off button, so can lay by my feet and be calm. I also like a dog who's more independent. I don't particularly love Velcro dogs, but I like them to be able to cuddle when it's mutually agreed upon. So when I'm looking for dogs, I know that's what I like. So that's something that if you're looking for a dog, knowing what you want and from that relationship is super important, and to think about it before. So it's not a good idea to just go to the shelter or go to the rescue and then just pick any dog just because they're so cute, or because you just really want a dog, or you can't leave without them, or you want to give everybody a home. Because probably the biggest problems I ever come up against in behavior consults is when the match is not a very good match. So then we are asking the dog we have to give the dog things that maybe the dog doesn't want to do, or we have to give him activities to fill the need that's not being met. And then with the person, they have to learn, okay, you may or may not be able to walk this dog like you want to, or do the sports you want to. And you have to be willing to accept that. Just like with children, we don't always know what our children are going to be born to want to do, and we can influence them, but it doesn't mean that they will love the same things that we love. So we have to be understanding about that with our dogs as well. Then my last question, which is a big question, I'll answer as much as I can within the short period of time I have left, but is why is punishing your dog bad? I recently had a client who was like, yeah, well, this positive force-free stuff is all great, but how do we discipline him? How do we get him to do things we want him to do? What do we do to him when he's in trouble? And it came out that his way of managing that was to bop the dog on the nose if he didn't do what he wanted. And then what was happening is the dog was then coming after him after he was bopped on the nose and putting his mouth on him. And then he was proving that his dog was aggressive, or he was thinking he was proving his dog was aggressive. And so a couple things. That's a lot to unpack there. But when we are training, 99.99% of the time, we can teach them things in a positive force-free method. That means that we teach them, we manage the environment, we teach them what we want them to do, not what we don't want them to do. We prevent them from getting into situations where they'll do the wrong behavior, because that can be a problem. And we teach them how to be in an environment. And if they, bark outside in the backyard all the time, then they just don't get to be in the backyard all the time until we teach a new behavior. So that's how we want to manage most of it. Now, occasionally we might use something if you ever used punishment, but punishment's very tricky to use because it has to be the right intensity, the timing has to be perfect, and you don't want to be associated with it. So an example I like to give is my dog Captain used to jump on our back wall and pull possums off the wall. And it was terrible because then we have possums in our backyard. We had babies in the backyard and they stunk, and I didn't want him to get bit. So, and once he was in that prey drive, it was really hard to break him. So I set up a scenario where I put a citronella spray collar, remote spray collar on a stuffed animal that looked a lot like a possum. It was a lemur, but it looked like a possum in the dark. And I stuck it on the fence and I hid in the house where I could see him. And then I had someone let him out of the house from a different door. He saw it, he ran out, he hit the wall, and as soon as he hit the wall, I started spraying from inside the house. I started spraying the citronella. So now this stuffed animal was spraying citronella all over everywhere. And what started to happen is then Captain didn't want to have anything to do with this thing that was smelling like citronella, and he stopped jumping on the fence at the possums, and or I could call him off of them a lot easier. So, that was what I did, and it only took one time, and it didn't hurt him, it startled him. It was a natural consequence because if that had been a skunk, it would have been stinkier. And it was a more natural consequence, and it taught him. Yes, it was punishment because I added something unpleasant to his experience, but it wasn't he didn't get hurt, and he didn't even know I was involved. The scariest story about punishment that I tell people is probably the scariest dog I've ever worked with was a dog that I had seen as a puppy, and he was really exuberant, and I was trying to teach them how to use positive reinforcement and train him. But had a lot of energy, and they would keep him kind of in this den or in the backyard. They didn't give him a lot of attention, and they didn't do a lot of training. So as he got bigger, he got harder and harder to manage. So as he was getting bigger and stronger, they had a pinch collar on him. I was no longer involved in the training. They had put a pinch collar on him, and they tried working with him. They came to me like it was about 5 years later, and said, he's aggressive now, and he's bit someone, and he's a very big dog. And so we said, okay, what's going on? And it came out that they had the pinch collar on when they were there. And they said every time the dog growled, they would hit him on the nose. So he no longer growled. So when he bit, he just bit. He did not growl first. He just lunged at you. So we worked together for about a couple hours. He was getting treats. He was totally fine. Didn't get triggered. Seemed fine. So his owners had agreed to try putting a harness on him while he so that he could learn how to have a harness on instead of a pinch collar, and we were going to try to do some rehabilitation with him. I was giving him treats while he was getting the harness. I had his dad putting his harness on because I didn't want to reach over him. So I was giving treats in front, and he was doing fine. And then the snap of the harness snapped. It was a split second. In that split second, I saw the dog's eyes get huge, and he lunged at me. I turned my head at the last second, and his teeth scraped the side of my cheek. And they pulled him off, and nobody was hurt. However, I realized how sensitive that trigger was now because there was no growl. He wasn't allowed to give warning signs. He wasn't allowed to say, I'm uncomfortable. I don't really like this. I don't want to go forward. And because he was denied that right to say he wasn't comfortable, he went straight to, I will make you stop if I don't like it. Unfortunately, they did decide to euthanize him because of his behavior. And the saddest part about that story is that dog probably could have learned a lot better ways. If he had learned as a puppy, all the positive reinforcement things, he was a sweet puppy. He just had a lot of energy when he was a puppy. And so they chose, instead of managing that energy and giving him food toys and giving him mental stimulation and giving him proper exercise, to put a pinch collar on him. And I don't know if an electric collar was used or anything else. I just know the pinch collar was. And that was their way to try to control him rather than teach him. And by the time he got big and he was 80 pounds and he was solid muscle, they were out of, and they had been punishing him for complaining about things. He ended up becoming very dangerous because he didn't warn you that he was upset or that he was frustrated. So, that is why punishment can be so detrimental. Punishment has to be used very, very carefully. If you accidentally treat your dog for something, say you say sit and they don't sit and you give them a treat. Yeah, they might next time not sit when you say sit, but that's easy to fix. But if you're using a choke chain or a pinch collar and you say sit and your dog sits, but you accidentally pop at the same time, now your dog's going to be afraid to sit and it's going to be harder because now you've not only accidentally punished something they did right, they're not going to understand, well, why didn't this work for me this time? Why was this more of a struggle? And so you start to cause confusion, which can become frustration, stress, anxiety, and fear. And then that becomes aggression. So we just want to make sure that we're always treating our dogs with empathy and compassion, and that we're really working with and teaching them what we want them to know and not constantly looking at what they did wrong. So those are a couple things that you can work on, and I hope that these questions helped. If there was any especially for Motley dog training, if you have more specifics about the question about the German Shepherd, I would love to hear more. I can either answer via email or we can follow up next month for the Ask the Trainer, because it's that's not an uncommon problem to have a dog who gets kind of frustrated when they don't get their needs met. Just like us, we get frustrated when we don't get our needs met a lot of the times as well. So I hope that all of these helped. We'll be here next month, and we are continuing to work on ways to have this so it's broadcast out to LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube all at the same time. But some of the software apparently is got hacked and had some problems. So we are still working through that with the company. So hopefully we will see you in more places next month. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at info@trulyforcefree.com. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, and check us out on all our social media. Also, go visit trulyforcefree.com and see all the free blogs we have and the video blogs. If you sign up for a newsletter, you get a free webinar. And then if you're interested in the Reactive Dog Bundle or Good Manners classes, those are all available at any time. And as always, let us know if you have any questions. And if you like this video, please share it. And we will see you next month.